I never thought I would cry at the seventh prince, even if I laughed at it. Whether you think the reason is because of it or you don't know, I hope you'll watch until the end. This time, I'll be explaining the Alchemy Festival arc. The Alchemy Festival arc is incredibly voluminous, so I'll explain the key points. I feel like there's still a lot to cover, but please bear with me. Lloyd and Ido's reunion was sudden. Ido was wearing a white mask and hood. Ido spoke to Lloyd in a friendly manner, but Lloyd teleported away and removed Ido's mask. Ido's face was identical to Lloyd's. However, to my surprise, Lloyd did not remember Ido. When I first read it, I thought, "Are you serious?" And there was a good reason for this, but it was still a bit disappointing. Then, a being called Tartarus appears and shakes Ido with words that are a mixture of truth and lies. It has a certain thought and a clear purpose. Jade was Ido's savior. He had saved him from bad guys in the past. Because Ido was a genius, his life was targeted from all sides. He went to meet Jidden to get her opinion on using forbidden magic when creating a magical furnace from the queen. Then, things gradually started to go according to Tartarus' plan. And finally, Lloyd remembers Ido. The depiction and illustration of this recollection are distinctive and hilarious. As Grimo cuts his nails, he drops a bombshell statement. Ido is a clone created by Lloyd when he was 6 years old. He really is the ultimate genius child. He then goes on to say that Marin and Colin, who were standing next to Ido, were also created by Lloyd. Hearing this, Grimo says it's too cruel and runs away from home. He will stop being a familiar until Ido apologizes. When Lloyd went to apologize for tracking down Ido's magic, he found Tartarus there and trapped Lloyd with powerful magic. This was because Lloyd was in the way of his perfection. Tartarus planned for Lloyd to not come out for a week. By the way, when Grimo asked Jalil about his impression of Ido's strength, he said that he was a weaker Lloyd. That alone makes him a monster. Then Tartarus lies and says that Marin and Colin were defeated by Lloyd, and belittles Ido. Ido is too honest. Ido was crying, but this was what Tartarus had been aiming for. Magical power began to overflow, and the people around him were extremely surprised. In the midst of this, Tartarus absorbed the magical power of the closed-off Ido. In short, his aim was to make Ido emotional, to make him do something like remove the limiter on Ido's magical power, so that he could absorb the magical power into himself and take over Ido's body. Meanwhile, Lloyd is trapped, but while searching, he finds Marin and Colin lying on the ground. Of course, there's no way Lloyd could defeat them. Tartarus did it. He picks up the core inside and checks the video recording. Lloyd, irritated by Tartarus' separation, uses powerful magic to easily cut through space and escape. Tartarus had said that it would take a week for him to get out. Tartarus was underestimating Lloyd. This scene in Tartarus made me laugh when I first read it. Grimo and Gilliel say that Tartarus has trapped Lloyd, but they say that's impossible and make a bet, but the flags are so high that Tartarus's howling face and double peace sign were pretty funny. This made my impression of Tartarus change quite a bit. As expected, Lloyd joins them. Tartarus is in a situation where there is not enough time to transform into his perfect form, and Lloyd has arrived, so he gets very anxious. He is worried about what to do, but asks Lloyd to give him some time so he can show him a new magic. He initially gets the okay, but then says he doesn't have enough magical power and asks for more time after all. Lloyd gets mad and tells him to hurry up, which scares everyone. This part is really cool. Lloyd is amazing. This is the final boss, and it's a very pitiful and sad situation. I was a little taken aback by Lloyd's awesomeness. However, once the other characters' battles were in sight, Lloyd casually says he'll fight. And it's as if he's just going to take a bath. This happened out of the blue, so I laughed so hard. Even though it's the final boss fight, there's no dignity or tension. Everyone is confused, but then one way or another, Tartarus finally becomes complete. From here, a dramatic battle between the golems unfolds. Many mysteries become clear. The reason Lloyd had forgotten about Ido was because he had used the magic of forgetfulness on himself to erase only Ido's memories. Also, Ido was aware that Lloyd had so much knowledge of magic that even when he read the magic books, it was too difficult for him to understand, and he wanted to escape from Lloyd to avoid the pressure. So he asked Lloyd to forget about him. Lloyd has high hopes for the two of them. After all that, after all these years, and after a long time, this forgotten legacy has finally brought them together again. What will they show him? Tartarus fights with a certain thought in his heart. At last, the long-awaited battle with Lloyd. It is as if he is trying to prove his own existence. It is a fight that will put love and pride on the line. Grimoire seems to have sensed this. The battle begins, but Tartarus does his best to keep up with Lloyd. In fact, he ends up lagging behind. Ido, who is being held captive, tells Tartarus to stop, but Tartarus fights desperately. Tartarus becomes irritated by Ido. Seeing Tartarus like that, Ido finally understands Tartarus's way of thinking and recalls the past. Ido, Marin, and Colin say goodbye to Lloyd and leave the country. In order to raise funds to live in the country they arrive in, they sell various inventions made from junk, and are summoned by the queen and told to make a magical furnace. When his life is threatened, Ido is saved by Jade, and when the queen tells him to make a small magical furnace, Ido hesitates to use forbidden magic and goes to consult with Gideon, who was the pope at the time. However, Gideon's ideas at the time were evil. Gideon's words, "If it were me, I wouldn't hesitate," strike a chord with Ido. Then, when Ido comes into contact with Lloyd's blood, the one who created Ido, a living being, is born. Tartarus eventually realizes that he is an imperfect being. If he continues to belittle himself, he will begin to admire perfect beings. As soon as he sees Lloyd, he realizes that Lloyd is the perfect being. In other words, this is the beginning of a story where the imperfect challenges the perfect. And then, the awakened Ido challenges the formidable Lloyd together with Tartarus. This is where things get super exciting. As the two of them fight, Ido performs a Lloyd-level magic chant for just a moment, and hits Lloyd with a big spell. The two, who had such bad relations, are happy to have landed a blow on Lloyd, and cry tears of joy, confident of victory. But, very unfortunately, behind them lies the sad reality for the two. Of course, that's how they reacted. I laughed so hard. In the end, Lloyd's cold reaction and comment. The two of them were desperate, but they gave him this cold response. When the two of them provoked him and told him to get serious, Lloyd finally got serious. From here on, it gets even more exciting. The altar magic is finally activated. When the plating on Lloyd's golem peeled off and it changed shape, it was revealed to be an altar. Normally, multiple magicians would perform magic as a ritual, but Lloyd uses this golem as a medium to perform it, which is a super ultra cheaty development. Tartarus is frightened by this crazy turn of events, and Ido faints. This development was hilarious. The scale is just too big. Ido can't stop sobbing as Tartarus explains the altar magic. This made me laugh too. The two suddenly came to their senses and laughed at the situation. And just as they made up their minds, it happened. Tartarus asks Lloyd for help, and Ido returns to the surface by teleportation alone. Ido instantly realizes the situation. And then Tartarus' monologue begins. The developments from this point on made me cry. Tartarus had wished to be defeated by the hand of Lloyd, who was perfect from the beginning. This was because Tartarus himself was imperfect and therefore had a short lifespan. He thought that being defeated by Lloyd, who was perfect, would make him perfect. However, that was just a pretense. In reality, he didn't want to disappear because Ido had created him imperfect. By being defeated by Lloyd, he would no longer disappear due to his lifespan. This was Tartarus' pride, and it was to avoid making Ido sad. For Ido's sake, he pretended to be immortal and acted tough. And for Ido's sake, for the sake of being perfect, Tartarus was showered with Lloyd's magic. Ido is crying on the surface. The image of Ido here is so tear-jerking. Ido continues to question Lloyd and the others after they return to the surface. Ido has realized that Tartarus is incomplete. When Grimoire tries to show his manliness towards Ido, Lloyd says something merciless. Grimoire here is hilarious. And from here on, things get really exciting. Lloyd activates an alter magic that freezes a part of Tartarus in time. In other words, it seems that Tartarus has not yet been completely destroyed. As expected, Grimoire and everyone else express their emotions and amazement. After that, they find the will of Tartarus and visit Tartarus' secret base. While exploring there, Lloyd and his friends are suddenly struck by Tartarus' disturbing will and a creepy sight. This was a very exciting development. Mysterious footprints left from the container in front of me. Is the final attack and surprise the revival of Gizal in the end? There seems to be something else, and it seems that the 10% or less that Lloyd took out is not Tartarus, but another pattern of existence. Anyway, I feel like there will be interesting developments waiting. As always, thank you for watching. I would be happy if you could subscribe to the channel, give it a high rating, and if you like it, share it on social media. Thank you for your continued support. See you next time.